Okay, you've got my attention. Now tell us who you are!
Okay, so basically, I'm Monkey.
It's a personal belief of mine that a lot of people have that anime. That movie, that show that made them go from knowing nothing about Japanese culture and media, possibly even refusing to for fear of being called a weeboo, to being suddenly thrown into this new, intriguing, foreign world where the laws and predictable tropes of Western cartoons don't apply. That anime that ended up being their gateway to many amazing tales that just would never be told in the same way in their native culture. And to me, that anime was Boku no Pico. Hello, I am Jinlong the Super Saiyan. While the first anime I ever sat down to watch was Death Note, Dragon Ball still stuck out among one of my favorite anime franchises. Though at this point it's so mainstream, can it even be called anime anymore? Oh well. Now, I know what you're thinking.
Oh my god! A girl that likes Dragon Ball?
That's right, fools. I am not like other girls. A lot of people in the West first became Dragon Ball fans when they happened to catch it on Cartoon Network or their local kids' TV channel when it was airing in the West during the 90s. Some became fans after seeing Dragon Ball Z, while others loved the show since the first original Dragon Ball. Some even came across the mangas. However, how I first discovered the world of Dragon Ball may be a bit surprising. If you didn't know, I am a member of the female gender, one who possesses 2 of the X chromosome. And when I was little, those of my kind did not watch this. We'd usually watch this. Or at least we'd grown to believe that was what boys and girls were supposed to watch. That was a pretty general idea when I was a kid. Things may be different and people may be woke now, I guess, but when I was a young one, Dragon Ball was a boys' show. You know, a sausage party for a main cast, extremely ripped guys beating the shit out of each other, destroying planets, mass genocide, all the sweet stuff that boys like. Without a doubt, at the time, Dragon Ball Z was one of the manliest shows a kid could watch. And I guess it was because I was convinced that this show wasn't for me unless I reeked testosterone, that I kind of got turned off from watching it whenever I caught it on TV. I had a lot of stigma towards this show before I even considered to sit down and just watch it. Meh, boys show, must be boring. So what made me change not only my perspective of the show, but my entire misconception of boys and girls stuff entirely? I was around 12, we were away on summer vacation. My brother and I brought our Nintendo DS's with us when we traveled, a habit which I keep to this day. He was out that day with some friends and I was looking at all the games I'd already played. I thought, damn, I'm bored, I want something new to play. And I looked over at my brother's game box, the boys games. I opened it up and started flipping through games. FIFA? Boring. Call of Duty for DS? Must be annoying, shooty and pixelated. And then I spotted it. Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans. The title of Dragon Ball Z alone already made me believe that it must be boring, cause I've been conditioned to think that only boys would like this. But at that point I was desperate for something new to play. So I popped in the cartridge and started a new game. What I found inside that cartridge was an incredible, imaginative world full of magic, ingenuity, and lots of beating the shit out of people. I was so impressed by the awesome material I discovered that I wondered why the hell I never stopped to watch the show when it aired. 4 boys my ass, this thing is awesome! My brother's save file was about halfway complete. Why did he never come back to complete the game? He'd owned that game for years. After this incident, a lot of the boys games that my brother owned ended up adopted by me, his older sister, cause he picked them up, played them for about a month, and then never touched them again. That's also how I picked up Fallout 4 and the Infamous series. The game itself is just a retelling of the Saiyan saga from the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, and it ended just after Vegeta escaped in the space pod and the crew were making plans to head to Namek. That was what prompted me to seek the anime, cause holy shit, I had to find out what happened next! And so I became a fan of the anime that I should have watched a long time ago, also due to its cultural importance in the anime world causing a revolution in shonen anime for decades to come. Right off the bat, one of the things that really captivated me about Dragon Ball was its extremely imaginative world. The world is so flexible, fluid, and vivid that it feels like it straight up came from my imagination when I was a child. In the world of Dragon Ball, anything is possible. flying cars, technological capsules capable of carrying nearly anything inside, from motorbikes to small houses, and even furries being in charge of the government. That was the sell point for me. The possibilities here are so limitless that the amount of absolutely absurd stuff that happens just reaches a point of acceptance, cause it is what it is.
As a matter of fact, it isn't.
For example, when you die, you get through a long line of cloud souls, get judged by a huge red dude wearing a Viking helmet, and there's a tiny planet wherein lives one of the strongest beings in the universe with his friend the grasshopper and his pet monkey, which to get to, you have to walk on an extremely long snake, and if you fall off, you go to hell. That's it! No shit's given. I love it! It's becoming increasingly rare to find these kinds of worlds in story writing nowadays because it's not realistic and it wouldn't make logical sense. When in Dragon Ball, fuck what makes sense. No one gives two shits. Power levels are BS, gods are BS, anything goes. And that's what makes this universe so fun to explore. Some people get annoyed by these a lot in TV shows, but in Z, I just love the filler episodes. Cause oftentimes we'd get something random with that same no shits given attitude. Fuck it, have an entire episode where Goku and Piccolo just fuck around and drive cars. Fuck it, have 2 episodes where Krillin gets an impossibly hot girlfriend, who he ends up dumping due to his internal struggle of not being good enough for her. Or fuck it, have a couple episodes where Gohan escapes the island Piccolo left him in, makes friends with orphan kids, watches them get taken by the authorities, and then never speak of it again. Neat. Of course, the other thing that really captivated me about the show were the characters. Usually, in a show as big and mainstream as Dragon Ball, such a huge cast of characters would be extremely difficult to handle. While there were one-time filler episode appearances of characters that would come and go, the main cast remained relatively the same. It's surprising how you can juggle like 8 characters in the same title screen, and each of them having distinct designs and personalities that make them unique and recognizable. The characters of Dragon Ball, and especially the villains who underwent a positive change arc, went through complex internal struggles and journeys that were very satisfying and entertaining to watch. Although characters like Krillin, Tien, and Yamcha still felt like they had kind of lost their footing since the original Dragon Ball, they still had some great moments to shine and prove themselves to still be relevant to the current conflicts. And by that I mean Krillin and Tien. Dude, I'm trying to remember a single time. Just a single one that Yamcha did anything useful or even cool. And I can't think of anything. I literally can't. Like, he beat up one Saibaman once, and then we all know what happened. However, I think this is the moment to insert my unpopular opinion. In all the movies and series that I enjoy, the protagonists may not necessarily always be my favorite, but they are still obviously likable and dynamic enough to make you root for them and their success. They're still someone who can inspire you and that you want to see reach their goal. Yeah, to me that's just not the case in Dragon Ball. The truth is, I don't like Goku very much. Fight me. I actually had a very long and rambly list of reasons for exactly why I hate him so, but I decided to spare you guys. Not to mention, I can't exactly make a Goku sucks section without careful evidence proving all my points, or I will get actually'd. I think you might be able to guess, like, 70% of the reasons why I dislike him already. But let's just say, I'm not a fan of the huge discrepancy between the hero the show tries to portray Goku as being versus who he actually is if you look closer. I'm also not a fan of Goku's acts of mercy ending up making the problems bigger than they already were. There is being merciful and seeing good in everyone, and there's being a naive idiot. I know you're not the brightest knife in the crayon box, Goku, but wow. Look, I just don't think the guy who straight up abandons his family and friends for a year and a half to go learn teleportation magic tricks from a couple aliens while leaving them to Frieza is a very good role model. If you like Goku's character, that is fine. If he inspired you growing up, if you saw him as a hero, that's okay. Not my intention to destroy your childhood. Still, if you wish to politely leave a comment on why you personally like Goku or why you think I'm a moron, go ahead. I just personally don't like this character, and how he constantly steals the show from other characters who could be just as capable as he is if only the writers desired it. Goku is always the one who has to save the day. He's always the first one getting new powers and new abilities. His friends and allies, who oftentimes work just as hard as he does, if not more, can never complete a challenge by themselves. It's always Goku that has to come be their trump card. Unless there is no way for him to be physically there. And that's a big unless.
You can't go, Goku! You're dead!
Since I made it clear that the protagonist isn't my favorite, who could it be then? Well, There's a character in the show with enough depth and emotional complexity to sink the Titanic all over again. A character who's had a troubled and harsh past but persevered over it and became the best possible version of himself. It took me a while to warm up to this character, but today he's without a doubt my favorite. It's the destroyer of planets, annihilator of civilizations, Yamcha. What? You know, he can kill Goku anytime. He's just been suppressing his true power all along. I kid. But there was one good thing that came out of Goku. It's 50% of him, and character-wise, 100% better than him. His own son. When I was first introduced to this character, I just felt sorry for him mostly. Aw, poor kid, he's only 4 and already being forced to fight a global threat. Poor kid, he's struggling and suffering and being bullied by that big green meanie. But somewhere along the line, this boy really grew on me. There was something about Gohan that was appealing and complex and genuine. Through his bond with Piccolo, he grew from a scared and helpless little child to a confident, powerful, but gentle person. Strong physically, but just as strong emotionally. Nothing highlighted that about his character more than when he first became a Super Saiyan in the hyperbolic time chamber. Gohan was well aware of the times the people he cared about needed him and he let them down. He remembered all the times he couldn't take care of himself in a battle and someone had to bail him out. Even though he is such a kind, warm, and gentle boy, deep down he felt useless and weak and guilty, and that guilt must have been weighing on him since pretty much his entire life. While Goku was always an overachieving kid with incredible strength and able to pick up new abilities pretty much on the spot, Gohan was timid and shy, and even though everyone saw potential in him, this kid had to work for every ounce of strength he gained. Hard. Gohan is a boy who was robbed of his childhood. Born with powers he didn't ask to have, and thrown into battles and situations of mortal danger he didn't ask to be in. The world needed a warrior, and he was just a child. Unlike his father, Gohan didn't like to fight. In fact, no one seemed to care to ask him what he actually likes. A path he never decided for himself was already set for him at the young age of 4. He didn't like to fight, but he fought anyway, because he understood he had to. Gohan was forced to grow up too fast and learn the one concept his father never did: responsibility. He'd set aside his own wants and needs for the sake of the greater good, daily, sacrificing his personal desires, his chance at a normal childhood, and even his future if it meant saving lives. And it was that drive, that ultimate altruism, that unlocked the Super Saiyan form. I am really only talking up to the Cell Saga. I refuse to acknowledge this exists. Gohan's character as a teenager and adult got screwed over probably more than any other character in the series. He was supposed to take over as main character in the manga, but it didn't work out because Toriyama and the writers failed to write him as a compelling main character, and were forced by fans to come up with a way to bring Goku back, thus resulting in the letdown of a character we now know, save for the very end of Super. As a preteen, personality-wise, I was as moody as Vegeta, but Gohan was the person that I pretty much aspired to be. Since I saw myself in Gohan, it's only fitting that he grew up to be a disappointment. I'm joking, but I'm sure I'm not the only one frustrated with how badly his character was handled. I know the Dragon Ball Z movies exist in weird places in the timeline and they're mostly not canon, but I saw BoJack and Bound the other day. This movie's all over the place for sure, but I was just glad to see Gohan at this age again. This is the Gohan we should have gotten. If there's one thing Dragon Ball as a whole also inspired me to do, is go back to practicing martial arts. I used to do karate as a young kid, but I stopped for many years, until I started watching Dragon Ball Z. Due to quarantine, classes are suspended for now, but whenever I go, it's a good dose of exercise. I can't shoot Kamehamehas out of my hands, but I can punch people in the face. Without a doubt, this show's influence on the childhoods of all who watched it is present to this day. As for me, as much as I enjoy sick fighting choreography, I wasn't actually into it much for the fighting. As cool as it was, what made me love Dragon Ball wasn't this. It was this. And this. And this. The emotional bonds the characters formed with each other, and their most formidable opponents being their inner demons, was definitely what made me go from just liking to loving this series. It's not without its flaws, but a world like this, with characters like this, have infinite potential and possibilities. With the amount of amazing stories you can tell with this universe, the sky's the limit really. And to me, that's what makes it Dragon Ball. Hey, I'm not Goku! Thanks for watching the video! If you enjoy my content, consider liking and subscribing. Also make sure to hit the bell over there to get notified whenever I upload. I just found out how shit YouTube's notification system is, so make sure you do that so you can get notifications properly. Well, too bad it's Sunday. This entire video would have been more entertaining tomorrow.
Give me a break.